God bless everybody tonight. It is December 14th of 2023. This is going to be a video pretty much about Turkey, Erdogan, and what Erdogan's been doing since the attack on Israel from Hamas. He's been extremely active. I've been watching him over the last couple months. I wanted to bring you this special report on his activities and how I believe he's going to break out potentially by that December 22nd date. We will see how that all works out. But let's get into these articles and show you what I'm talking about. So Erdogan has engaged in a diplomatic blitz for Gaza because he's, like I say, he's going to champion the cause for the Palestinians. And he's been out here daily trying to get the global community to basically come against Israel and the United States. So as we look through this article, it gives you a lot of information. It's actually pretty revealing. It indicates that spearheading Turkey's efforts to resolve the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, President Erdogan has been in touch with leaders and other officials almost every day since the new round of conflicts broke out in October. It says Turkey has aspired to rally the world to help Palestinian suffering under Israel aggression since October 7th and find a solution to the ongoing conflict that has already claimed thousands of lives. Up to this point, approximately, based on the Hamas propaganda machine, close to 19,000 people. And as a defender of the Palestinian cause, Erdogan is at the forefront of diplomatic pressure to achieve this goal. Now it indicates, this is what I mean by this guy's been extremely active, and I've been trying to call your attention to him because I knew he was in the background doing all these different things, and I've tried to bring them up in my articles. But between October 7th and December 8th, Erdogan held 30 face-to-face meetings with 32 phone calls with heads of states and other prominent figures. He has also attended 4 international summits where he raised Turkey's voice with the prevalence of peace in the region. Erdogan's speeches at the Economic Cooperation Summit in Uzbekistan in November or the COP28 meeting in Dubai always concentrated on resolving the conflict. And I indicated he wasn't there for the green movement. He's there to eliminate the massive threat against what he considers the plight of the Palestinians, which is also going to end up as a massive plight against the Lebanese here soon. So Erdogan's been basically going to all these different functions. It hasn't to do with anything that they're basically talking about. He's going and talking to these leaders because they're all grouped into one area, and so he can get to them easier. And so he's over there basically fighting the cause for the Palestinians and how they need to do a ceasefire here and stop this carnage against these people down in Palestine and then down in Gaza. So on the sidelines of these events, Erdogan's talked with his counterparts about the situation in Gaza. The president also proposed Turkey's solution to the conflict at the extraordinary and rare summit of the Arab League and Organization for Islamic Cooperation in this place called Riyadh, I believe. In his latest remarks early this week before an executive committee meeting of his Justice and Development Party, AK Party, Erdogan highlighted that the support would continue for the Palestinian cause. Erdogan told party members that Turkey would adhere to its responsibilities to stop the bloodshed, end Israel's atrocities, and for sustainable steps for lasting peace. He underlined that Turkey has 3 goals regarding this issue: a permanent ceasefire, establishment of an independent and sovereign Palestinian state on the lands occupied by Israel. And see how he states that he wants an establishment of an independent and sovereign Palestinian state on the lands occupied by Israel. Okay, they're Israel's lands, not Palestine's lands to begin with. And accompanying the guaranteeship model Turkey suggested as a solution to the conflict. The article indicates, in the meantime, Turkey's top diplomat Hakan Fidan continues to participate in the delegations of ministers visiting Western countries to find support for a solution to the conflict. Fidan and other foreign ministers from Muslim and Arab countries recently visited Canada and the United States and will be touring Scandinavian countries on Friday. Since the first day of the conflict, Turkey has been trying to facilitate diplomatic channels to push for a ceasefire amid incessant Israel airstrikes, which killed thousands and destroyed hospitals, schools, homes, marketplaces, churches, mosques, refugee camps, and more. But of course we don't talk because of the propaganda machine that's involved in this article. They're not talking about the original attack into Israel, and so of course is skewed. And that's why I say you got to read these articles for what they are and take the information and break out what's necessary so you can understand what's happening on the ground, not necessarily that a lot of these news agencies are reporting properly. So Erdogan has assured that Turkey is ready to undertake the responsibility of a regional security mechanism if it is established for the conflict, and proposed a guaranteeship model. Turkey's authorities are also working to bring crimes committed by Israel against Palestinian civilians before the International Crime Court, or ICC, through government agencies and non-governmental organizations, which is NGOs. So if you ever hear NGOs, it's a non-governmental organization. In remarks to journalists last month, Erdogan stated that breaking the blockade on Gaza was not probable through the steps of a few countries, but that the entire OIC and Arab League countries should unite to make the joint effort and develop strategies. We need team play. Breaking the blockade does not mean getting limited aid to Gaza. We have to use economic, political, diplomatic, social, cultural leverage to maintain the ceasefire, bring sufficient aid to Gaza, and put Gaza devastated by Israel back on their feet, he says. Realize that Erdogan's angle is that he doesn't like Israel at all. He basically is, since the beginning of this war, has come out against Israel. He's basically stating that Israel or Hamas is not a terrorist organization, that he's had Hamas leaders in his country. That's not a real problem for him. They don't understand why it's a problem because they don't consider them a terrorist threat or a terrorist group, and so to him it's not a real problem. Then it indicates we have to force Israel to account for what it did and comply with international laws. Now, as you can see, there's no complying with Hamas or whatever. You know, if Hamas would let the hostages go and comply with international law and be a good neighbor, even though I'm sure Israel's done some things to them, I can't expound that this is probably a problem on both sides and that this has brought us to where we are today. But regardless, Israel is being attacked constantly by these different factions or groups of people, and so they have to have a quiet, safe place for their people to live, and this isn't happening under the normal circumstances. So you have to try to look at both sides, but we are talking about a radicalized Muslim side that is Their whole goal is the extermination and removal of Israel from the planet. So that is a real problem. We have more blockades to overcome, like a blockade in the UN, he explained, referring to the oft-repeated criticism of the unfair influence of major countries in the international body that thwarts efforts to resolve the issue. We have to change people's mindset and tell them what really happens in Palestine. We have to explain the oppression by Israel that has been going on for decades. And that's what I mean. This has been going on for 70, 75 years, and it's not going to go away. And unless Israel does something to impact this, to protect their people, so these threats aren't on the borders of their northern, eastern, and their southern border, this is never going to go away. And so this is why I've been talking about it. This is Israel's last chance. If they don't do this now, they're not going to get it done, and they'll probably become an extinct population of people because they didn't do what was necessary to eliminate this problem now. It says that we have to end the fascist approach to matters that has no problem with death of Muslims and only cares when Christian or Jewish people die. And that's not true, because the Jews in Israel, the IDF forces, are trying to go in and surgically remove these people, but Hamas is hiding behind these hostages, and now they're eliminating the hostages because they don't want the hostages to be taken. And as I show you these articles as we move forward, you're going to realize Hamas isn't even trying to eliminate the hostage issue anymore. They're not trying to give them back. They're just holding them and using them for shields and things. So they don't want to give them back. Hamas isn't working. Erdogan's a Muslim. He's radicalized. He's building the Ottoman Empire. And this is going to turn out bad for the Middle East as we move forward. And he is going to get into this war, possibly by that December 22nd date. And if he gets into it, then you would potentially see a siege on Jerusalem at that point, because the whole region's going to explode at that point. He says we need a new mindset that sees the killing of people regardless of their religion as a problem. Oh, but you don't have a problem killing the Jews or eliminating that threat, Mr. Erdogan. It's amazing how it works for one but not the other. And you don't have a problem killing the Kurds off and genociding them. Oh, and you don't have a problem eliminating the threat on Armenia and that threat through Azerbaijan. Oh, and what about the genocide and the war you're trying to start with Greece up there? It's not necessarily a genocide up there, but he has been trying to start a war with Greece for a while, and he's been trying to take that area over for some time. He's down in Africa. He's down in all these different areas. But that's not a problem when you talk about Erdogan. It's just a problem when you talk about the Jews in Israel. And that seems to be a common theme nowadays through our universities and through the world, that it's okay as long as it isn't Israel. If Israel doesn't, it's a problem. But as long as the Palestinians or any Muslim group does it, it's not a problem. Even if you go to the UN, it's not a problem. You know, they're all basically saying that Israel is the problem. So we need to understand that there's a skew to this whole process out here, and it's never skewed toward Israel, or us in this case. We have another blockade that needs to be broken, and it's on the Palestinian historical borders. The right of self-determination for people there, their property rights, their right to life, and lasting peace is possible only by breaking all these blockades. Then the article goes on to say, on Thursday, Fidden said that he would visit Norway, where he would meet with officials from the Nordic countries. Will be another instance where they would highlight Ankara's commitment to the righteous cause of the Palestinians. I say there's no thought of Israel in this one at all, not on their side. To them, it's just destruction of the Gazan or Palestinian people. And this is going to move into a Hezbollah Lebanese situation soon, because Israel's getting ready and have been for some time attacking those fronts, and Hezbollah has indicated that they're going to retaliate to the level of whatever Israel's throwing down. So it's just going to escalate. And Israel's concerned about Hamas right now, and they're just basically softening up the fronts on the northern border of Hezbollah, northern border and the eastern border between Lebanon, Golan Heights, and the West Bank. And so that will come soon. Finnan, who spoke at the news conference in Azerbaijan, so see, this is what I mean. He's up in Azerbaijan. They're up there genociding the Armenians. So Erdogan has no right to talk about all this up here when he's doing exactly the same thing down here. Where he met his counterpart, said their work with diplomats from Muslim and Arab countries helped pave for the way for important developments. He referred to an increase in the number of countries demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, and recent UN General Assembly a rise from 121 votes in favor to 153 votes. So that's a fairly large increase in just a few weeks or a couple months, from 121 to 153 votes. He said most countries abstaining from voting for a resolution on ceasefire or voting against it changed their mind and stood with Palestine. And so God tells us, the international community, no one will come to Israel's rescue before this is out. And Biden has been he's been all over the map with Israel, you know, about the time frame, how fast they have to do this, the intensity, you know, we need ceasefires, we need pauses, they're all over the place. So Israel basically just said, you know what, we're going to do what we're going to do because we need to eliminate these two threats, basically, Hamas and Hezbollah. And they're going to do exactly that. And you're going to see some of these articles as we move forward. It obviously indicates the will of the international community to end the oppression. Supporters of Israel should take note. We also expect the U.S. not to block any decisions by the UN Security Council. Really? Well, we just did, Mr. Erdogan. We just vetoed the original one, which caused you all kinds of problems here, because those vetoes matter, especially from us, because we're your biggest donor, Mr. UN. So good luck with that one. The U.S. is the only country standing between the ceasefire and the massacre in Gaza. Now, we are, like I say, moving away in rhetoric, but we are still standing with Israel, and I think you'll see that as we move forward in some of these articles. Now, I'm not going to get into some depth in a lot of these other articles, because basically the first article set up everything to lead into these other articles. So I'm just going to sort of go over some of the titles in these headers and let you know what's going on and the other news organizations that are actually reporting on this stuff. You got the U.S. News indicating that Turkey's Erdogan tells Biden U.S. has responsibility to secure Gaza ceasefire. And that's what I mean. He doesn't want us to veto these things. He wants us on board. And if you get into this, he's in discussions right now with us on a number of levels. He's on phone calls with Erdogan and Biden, talking about those F-16s and Sweden's NATO ascension. And this is extremely important because he wants those F-16s. I'm talking about this for a while. He's been shut down on a number of levels getting weapons from other countries. If he gets shut down with the F-16s because of his rhetoric as we move forward, and he's threatening the United States at the same time, I'm guessing we're not going to give them to him, and he's not going to allow Sweden to move into NATO, and he's just going to leave here as he's getting ready to do this invasion because he's not getting his way down here. And Israel's indicating that this could take literal lots of months, not just a few months, like lots of months, because they're still trying to get elements out of the north, and they're in the south too. And then Hezbollah is getting ready to open up, so they know this isn't going to go away anytime soon. And so Erdogan has called up our president and discussed Gaza, Sweden's accession, and NATO, to NATO, and the F-16s. And like I say, Gaza is going to be controlled by Israel. We don't have a lot of say in this one. I'm sorry, but Israel's going to do what they need to do. Sweden's ascension's probably not going to happen, and the F-16s probably aren't going to get shipped to Mr. Erdogan. And so it's extremely important that all these things need to be exposed, because you need to understand what's the working parts of what's going on behind the scenes, so you can actually know what's going on the ground. That's extremely important. So I spend a lot of time looking up articles so that I can produce them to you, so you can actually see optics on the ground that possibly you're not seeing in the general media. And also I'm trying to link these connections together, because if you look at prophecy, this happens a specific way. In this article, it talks about U.S. is alone on Gaza ceasefire veto. This is the Turkish foreign minister. This is that Fiden guy, so that's what he looks like. So he's in Washington, this Fiden guy. Well, Erdogan's calling Joey Biden on the phone to try to get us to sway our position with Israel here, because they're indicating that we are basically alone on this. And if you go to the UN, we're pretty much alone on this. There's a lot of abstentions and people didn't vote, but 153 did vote for a ceasefire. And so this is extremely important. If you look at this article, it said that Biden's comments made to Turkish state media after the meeting in Washington comes after the United States vetoed a proposed United Nations Security Council demand for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in the war between Israel and Palestine militants group Hamas in Gaza. Britain abstained, while 13 other members voted in favor of the draft resolution. The United States and Israel opposed the ceasefire because they believe it would only benefit Hamas. Washington instead supports pauses in the fighting to protect civilians and allow the release of hostages taken by Hamas in the deadly October 7th attack on Israel. But that is not happening anymore. They're not releasing any of these hostages anymore. And I wanted to cover this real quick because this Turkish PM that had been giving a speech, this lawmaker, had indicated that Israel would be under the duress or the wrath of Allah or God. While he was on stage, fell over with a heart attack. He had a massive heart attack, and he was in critical condition, but this man has recently died. And so I'm just saying that possibly karma does come back to hurt you at times. And I've also reported on this, and this was an interesting video if you want to go watch it. It's on CNN. You can see a lot of these articles and when they were produced, so you can go out and look them up. It's indicating that a Turkish official warns of consequences if Israel targets Hamas members inside Turkey. And I'd indicated that this could be a real problem if Israel reaches out and tries to eliminate any of these people in other countries, because Turkey is harboring a lot of these Hamas leaders and different things like that. And so it indicates that basically if they see Israel in some way come in through any regard and eliminate a potential threat in Turkish borders, that this would escalate this tremendously, and it would. This would be a real problem if we are seeing assassinations of any type of leader of any group on other soil. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention because I think it's extremely important. But like I said, you can go look at this article, and it's somewhat revealing if you want to watch it. And this last article sort of goes along with the assassination thing. So Israel puts a bounty out on Hamas leaders. Okay. Now these leaders aren't all in Gaza, as it indicates here, but they're dropping leaflets in Gaza because they want the population to turn them in. I've showed you some articles where the Gazans that are somewhat freed up and not under Hamas control are coming out against Hamas and indicating about the terrible treatment and everything that they've been doing. And basically Gaza's been, or Hamas has been using all these resources that they could have used for the population to build underground tunnels. You know, you can't imagine the expense and the amount of effort it takes to build 800 miles of tunnels under this, under Palestine. It's amazing. And that is not going to the population. That is going to a potential threat against Israel, which is basically what Israel is trying to do, is eliminate that threat. So you have these potential leaflets being dropped. They're offering cash rewards amounting up to $1 million for information leading to the capture of Hamas top leadership in the region on Thursday. So I'm sure these people can be eliminated in any country, and if they know who did it, they would possibly give these rewards out. And that goes back to, you know, Turkey coming out and saying, look, don't do this on our soil. Here's a picture of some of these leaders, and they have some really nice names, like the butcher of Khan Yunis, which is this guy right here. You know, anytime you get good names like that, you're a pretty upstanding citizen there. I'm just saying. So, yeah, there's two sides of this story, and I get it. Israel's done some bad things, but the Palestinians and the Hamas and Hezbollah group will never stop until the state of Israel is basically destroyed. So, just wanted to bring these articles to you. Keep your eye on Turkey. Watch that date of December 22nd. I made a mistake in one of my last videos, and for some reason I said 390 days. I don't know. I must have been really tired. Sorry about that, guys. I put a little thing on the description underneath it that I had made a mistake there. We are now today on 380, or see, I just did it again. And that's my dyslexia, and I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm trying the best I can to give you the information the best I can without my shortcomings being a problem, but my dyslexia is a problem, and so I do have issues with that. You have 1,388 days from today, okay? You have basically, I think, potentially on December 22nd, Turkey's going to get fed up and come into this war on that date, and that would potentially start that sieging and the ramp up of that war against Israel, where all 10 nations over time would come together. But the siege is going to happen, as I've indicated, for up to 18 months, so it's not an overnight sensation. They don't break in through the walls of Jerusalem for a while. So we need to keep our eye on all these things. God bless everybody. Please find the open door. It's so important that you find the Son of God, which is Jesus. He is the one through how you gain salvation. And I don't necessarily talk about how you gain salvation a lot because I'm a prophecy teacher, and I'm trying to show you the connections between eschatology and current day events and how the prophets matter to you. But there's always an underlying message that I want you to be saved, that I want you to find the Son of God, and through Him, through His blood, through His crucifixion and His rising, fulfilling those spring feasts, that you would be saved. And now He's getting ready to come back and fulfill the fall feast, I say, in 27. between October 2nd and October 17th. I believe, as I've said for some time, the rapture will happen on the 7th trumpet on October 2nd of 2027. And that's why I give you these countdowns of today, 1,388 days to the Feast of Trumpets on October 2nd of 27. That's extremely important because that falls in line with the parable of the fig tree. And the parable of the fig tree, if you go look at Psalm 90:10, indicates that the fourscore generation of Israel will not end before all things happen. And if you look at that and put it in basic context, you have to go, when was the nation of Israel formed? May 14th of 1948. When would the 80th year be and that fourscore generation end? May 14th of 2028. So that's why I always bring you back to the fall feast of 27, because I think it matters as we watch this massive ramp up and a potential breakout of Turkey, which is going to put you into a Daniel 8 scenario first, and then Ezekiel 38-39 scenario as we move forward. Now, I originally said for many, many times, I did not know exactly what was going to happen on December 22nd. It says a siege on Jerusalem on that very day would occur. So I'm speculating that within the next week or so, and I've been saying this for a while because I don't have a crystal ball, that Erdogan's going to get into this game soon. So maybe that breakout's on December 22nd. We'll see how that works out. God bless. Find the open door. Find Jesus. And you all have a great night. Be safe out there, folks. Get your oil in your lamp and get ready, because this one is breaking down quickly.